Greetings, Shalom. I have here treasures, storing up treasures in heaven. Do not lay up yourselves treasures on earth. Yeah, 6:19. I'll just start by reading it. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. Well, destroy. Robbers, thieves, breaking things in, breaking in. They want to enter. What do they want to break? What is this breaking in really? And steal. I think I can go back to skip Genesis. Just came to mind with actually, let me just type in Cain. First time here is 4:1. Adam and Eve had Cain. Eve bore Cain, not some literal serpent seed. And yet, Adam and Eve are serpents, brood of vipers from the beginning, one with their father, the devil, in the flesh. And the devil works through the flesh of man. And the flesh is handed over to the devil to be chewed on and pecked on and picked on by birds that eat flesh. When someone picks on someone, that's someone being handed over to the birds and the foul spirits for their flesh to be chewed up to destruction. For trying to save their soul, man is destroying it. His flesh is being chewed up by the devil, by foul spirits. This is the judgment. And it's a sacrifice by Jehovah that gives up man as a feast for the birds to chew and pick on the flesh and the rotting corpses. That's the ugliness of sin and destruction. It really is that ugly. The picture is matching what's happening within. And we read about the birds, and we read about the vultures that Messiah taught because, well, it's in his word. He's teaching the truth on it. Where will they be? The disciples asked. They asked him because he said they will be taken. Where will they be taken? They asked. Wherever the vulture, wherever those flesh-eating birds are, that's where they will be. So they will be wherever they are. Wherever those vultures are, those crows, those flesh eaters, whatever types of bird, the true meaning is that is the answer. Wherever the birds are, that's where they are, because they hunt, for dead things and eat the flesh of the dead. So those that are dead and not living, their flesh is being eaten. That's where they are. That's where they're taken. Not a certain location, literally, but the location is wherever they are, wherever the birds are. And now the thought comes to me that they never depart from that location as long as man is in unbelief. That's where they always are, outer darkness. And that's a nasty picture. It's a nasty thing. That's the destruction of the flesh and judgment that the Creator has determined on Adam and Eve. Dying you shall die. This is the judgment for sin. This is what must happen and will happen. You can have no life now, he says, for Adam. You are the death. You are the sin. You are the problem. Now the only way is to deny self, to deny self's whole entire existence and life and body, but to see this in spirit. And through this denial, which is like a suicide spiritually, the true way. He gives life. And the devil's masquerade of this good, putting itself to death and laying life down, is literal suicide and destruction. It just looks like the true for an image. And it's utter destruction, like Judas. And that would be, an extreme destruction, obviously, but that's the picture. Someone at their end is worse than they've ever been spiritually, more destroyed and they think they're the wisest that they've ever been because they have gray hairs, they've become older. Well, they're supposed to, in truth, become wiser the older someone gets. But man of self thinks he's getting wiser. Wiser of self. That myself and who and what I am is wiser than it's ever been. That is to be even more of a fool, more foolish than someone's ever been. His judgment is so perfect. It's like a balance where if one is going down, the other is going up equally on the scale. If there's 50 pounds on one side and 10 on the other, now the 50 is going down, the other is going up as much as the other is going down. That's his perfect judgment. He makes that happen. So if pride is going up and someone thinks they're wiser of self, accordingly, spiritually, which only can be seen in spirit, someone has become the exact amount more foolish according to how much more wise they are in their own eyes. Because we read, there's more hope for a fool than someone who is wise in his own eyes. Is wisdom evil itself? This means now, you can't have wisdom, says the devil, to try to shut us up, to try to shut someone up and shut truth up, which now they just proved that they don't believe there is a good way or truth. They don't believe in forgiveness or anything. That's what someone proves when they do that work. They just proved it. Because now the question to the enemy is, what do you say? What do you do? How do you do this without sin? What's the way then? Show me, tell me. You just proved there is no way. So what do you say? What do you do different? Just condemned itself in hypocrisy and proved that they don't believe in a way. They don't believe that good could be done. Don't believe that good can be done. They don't believe in good. They don't believe that anyone does good in their heart. Forget the image and the talk, because people talk like that all day long and make it look like they believe people are doing good and that good can be done. No, they don't actually believe real good can be done. It's not who the enemy is. He doesn't believe in anything good or good possibility, even though it's proven to him. It doesn't matter how much time passes by. He never changes. It's incredible. The devil hasn't figured out that the Creator is winning and going to win, since the devil only sees that as a sick game. It's given back to the devil as a game, as a righteous judgment, which makes it look like the one giving it back like that is doing the sin. But no, that's a righteous judgment, discerning that someone is getting back according to what they put out. Someone doesn't want to answer Messiah truthfully. Where do you say this came from? This message, this truth, from heaven with John the Baptist or from men? And they looked at each other. Well, they probably did. I don't know. I don't think we read that, but they said, we don't know. Why? Because they didn't say yes or no. They do what man always does and goes right in the wicked middle, lukewarm thing. They didn't say yes or no with their heart. They thought they could play the lukewarm evil right in the middle, saving their soul so that nothing can condemn them, nothing can point the finger and say they're wrong or right. They're just safe in some safe haven or whatever, some protection that doesn't exist. It's a delusion, the lukewarm thing. Messiah vomits out the lukewarm. It is the sin, and lukewarm is the wickedness of all the devil and all sin. It's the mixing of all good and evil and making no discernment between good and evil. That is the sin, making zero discernment between actual good and drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is all good, this is all evil, done. This is the good separated, this is the evil, period. It's a mixing of the two that sin is. If it's not mixed, it's not sin. If it's truly not mixed, it's not sin. It's a true teaching then, whether it's teaching of good or evil. But when the teaching is mixed, that's already the sin. That's the sin of the knowledge of good and evil on the tree. That is man's knowledge, his own knowledge that he seeks for himself to become wise in his own eyes. He looks at that tree that's offered by who? The serpent, that old serpent, the devil, the beast, that no one can blame he's the beast, because anybody that does the works of the devil now proved with works that they are the beast, one with their father, the devil, the beast, the craftiest beast out of all. Crafty are beasts. That means animals are crafty too. There's a truth to this, isn't there? Naturally, teaching the spiritual, but aren't animals beasts? Isn't the Father's word true? Doesn't it imply that there is a craftiness to animals? But the devil is the craftiest beast. But now who can see what this is really meaning, because it's not meaning that the devil is a literal serpent. It never meant that. That's for our admonition, that it went like this for a parable and a teaching for us that, well, it can't be understood unless someone's seeking the Creator's truth from him for what it's meaning. Or else our own understanding is going to already be the lie. And like someone told me, when it comes to even simple things, anything in the world, someone will act and say like something is stupid and impossible. What do you mean? Of course you have to learn it. A 5-year-old doesn't just, and yet when it comes to the Creator's truth, man's heart believes he already knows everything. He doesn't believe that he's like a 2-year-old that needs to learn. Now all of a sudden, when it comes to everything that matters, Creator's truth and all of life, now man already believes he knows everything. He knows the whole Bible and everything. But when it comes to carnal, worthless things in comparison in this world, people would spit and mock at someone that's like 5 acting like they know it all. They get angry at that image because it's them, but they're just hiding it because they're looking at the mirror image of themselves. The more they examine someone, the more they see themselves in the other, and they're offended, and they condemn themselves by condemning someone else, condemning their own flesh, condemning their own humanity, because they are humans also and no different, because they are Adam and Eve, no different than any other Adam and Eve. No better or worse seen by the Creator. There isn't some kind of level or podium that the Creator puts someone higher on and sees them that way. It's all level and even, and everything is naked before his eyes. And he sees right through all the covers and the lies. He sees the depths of Sheol and underground. He sees the grave. He sees everything. There is no death that can hide from him. There is no grave deep enough. There is no sin deep enough. There's no destruction or death, because the deeper the sin, the more you have to hide it. That's a law. That's a fact, because of the Creator's law and truth being true. The bigger the sin, the bigger the hiding has to be as a punishment. When the hiding is bigger, it proves that someone sinned big because the hiding is bigger. If they didn't sin at all, they wouldn't hide. There's nothing to hide or run from if there's no sin and someone's conscience is truly clear and it does truth and comes to his light to be seen for their works like Messiah teaches to do, but are justified in his sight for believing in him and come to the light to see what the works are, whether they're of Elohim or not. This is becoming without partiality for self. This is to see whether there was an evil done of self. That's how not to be partial, is that judging self, which will look like condemning self, like the evil condemning. The Those are the two things that look alike, but it's actually judging self properly without partiality and saying, I did this evil, and repenting for it and acknowledging it. That's not condemning self, that's judging self without partiality and acknowledging sin and not hiding and covering it. This world doesn't do that to itself ever. It condemns itself without believing it condemns itself. This is the great contradiction and confusion that always must be within someone, because that is the judgment, contradiction and confusion. It's the punishment to be confused. Why is it confusing? Because of the contradictions. If there was zero contradictions, there would be no confusion. How could confusion come out of what is simple, plain, and true with no contradictions? If there's confusion, there's contradictions, and wherever contradictions are, there's lies. Wherever lies are, there's murder and strivings of worthless things, and evil, doing evil, and envy is around there too. Wherever one thing, so the other, so the other, so the other, because these are all connected. Like the evils connected on that tree. So they look to that thing, that work, that lust, that sin, and someone goes in their heart secretly, man, that's going to make me wise. Appear wise before others, not the true wisdom to retain itself and not pour out all over the place out of wicked pride. What's the image? What's the truth of this image? Sharing the truth. Someone can claim they're doing that for sharing the truth. Now when they say that's what a believer is doing only, as the rest of the world, they just proved to a believer and no one else that there is no way to share truth without sin and wickedness. That's what they proved. They just proved they're an unbeliever to us. And in their mind, they proved we're unbelievers. Well, that's the enmity that's got to be. If there's no enmity like this, that must not be a believer then, because enmity is the only thing that can be with this world. The more a believer becomes light and grows, the more enmity there will be, because the Father's at perfect enmity with the carnal man and all that's evil. Whatever that perfect thing looks like, he's already that. He's already that, and he's already doing that, regardless of the whole world not seeing what he's doing in his works. He's still doing it. He's already that. Then a believer can see that he is that bit by bit, because he gives us his thoughts and works to do and see. Then we can start seeing him more for believing in him more, and seeing in him more for believing in him more. The more someone believes in his works and that he will give, the more that they are actually given, the more they believe because they could see the works after believing, receiving of what we believe, which is proof. Then more is given for having faith because of believing that more will be given. And then when more is given, more faith is increased because we saw the result of more being given, and it's a circle. And the other circle is the devil's circle. It disbelieves more, and therefore it will disbelieve more. That means it will go into destruction more. That means the fears will come upon them. As the Father says in his word, I will make the fears come on them. He will make the fear come upon someone and grip them and overtake them. Why does that happen to someone? Because they believe it will in their heart, ignoring the image completely and utterly, because the image is trying to hide the truth of the heart and what it's doing at all times. At all times in this world, that's the image hiding the truth, sending out the opposite image to make itself look like it has faith, is proof of faithlessness to anyone who can see. The stronger someone needs to prove and do things for the intention of others to see self as full of faith, the more faithless and the more of a destroyer that person is. He's a greater destroyer, some 30-fold, some 60, some 100. And the more they destroy, the bigger prophets they become, and the more righteous they become in their eyes, the more that they are seen and believed to be great servants of God and righteous prophets, just like the prophets of Jerusalem that Messiah exposed, and no different. And if anything, worse today than it's ever been. because of the ability to do even more damnable sin with that image, with technology, because of the world shrinking and becoming one person becoming greater of an image before all the earth. With technology, the sin has increased. Somehow it's increased, and yet it's always been the same. It always existed. It always was the same sin from the beginning, but it's gotten worse. And technology is not the heart of the truth as something being, the mark of the beast. That's just something that has to be seen and learned by every believer, because in the beginning, the only thing that's seen is some kind of carnal word for that, some kind of lie. And then someone searching for that mark of the beast specifically in some kind of physical object or whatever, something like that. And it's never been that. It's never been about that, even though the evil can be used through that, and it is all the time, always has been. It is not that itself. It is not the image itself, like we read in Hebrews. The image of the thing was never the truth. It's just the shadow on a good day, pointing to the true. It's not the real thing. It's always going back to the heart. It's always going back to in spirit. It's a spiritual problem and truth, or a spiritual wickedness, the lie, but the truth is spiritual. Comparing what? All his words, spiritual with spiritual. Spiritual is not some word that some guru just supposed to say to make himself look spiritual because he sounds spiritual. It's the Father's very truth and wisdom given. It's his things, his wisdom, his truth. It's real. It's actual truth. It's actual light, and it's actual wisdom. It's not some dead, worthless image sold by a carnal man as a masquerading wolf in sheep's clothing, selling what he thinks spiritual is so that everyone sees him as a righteous, good, amazing, spiritual, wise man. That's why he does what he does, so that he's seen as that by others. That's the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. Some 30-fold, some 60, some 100. And someone at 30 is not any better than someone at 100-fold because they do a little less sin. It doesn't matter. That's what Messiah taught also. You will die in your sins unless you repent. You'll die in your sins, he said. They thought they were better than the people of old, the people of Sodom and the people of whatever people before them. In their heart, they rose themselves on a podium above, worth more, better, and look down in disgust, condemnation, hatred, worthless trash compared to self. And Messiah says, no. What they are doing in their heart, he's saying no to. He's not saying that sin is not happening or that some sin more. He's not saying some sin more, that some don't sin more, or some sin less. He's not saying that. He's saying no to that wicked pride in the heart that he discerned and knew they were doing in that moment. And he's speaking on that. No, unless you repent, you will die in your sins, he told them. No different than them that you think you're better than all of those people of old that perished. Whatever example someone uses, whatever they used, whatever they were thinking of, comparing themselves to something worse in their mind to make themselves shine. Is death shining? Unless they repent. And he's not lying. That means they need to repent. They're in sin. Right now they're no good. They're in death and darkness with no light. Unless you repent, he told them to their face, you will die in your sin. You will die in your sins, plural, because no one's ever done one sin. But you could say it that way when the intention of the heart is right, and you're not trying to say in your heart that there's only one sin. Once again, there's going to be an enmity and a problem with this world with that, because it's speaking of something real in the heart that the world never does. It just looks at the image and the words, and that's it, what it looks and sounds like only. It's what the heart is actually doing, despite the image covering their heart, that everyone's doing in this world that doesn't believe. What they got going on in their heart is never the image they're putting out. That image exists to cover the real sin it's actually doing at that moment in its heart. When it hates someone in its heart, it needs to put on an act, an image of loving the person they hate. It needs to, even when it's desperately obvious they hate someone, they put out an image. Now the world can't condemn it in its mind because it said, I love you. It said the words, even though it's obvious they're full of hate. Like they've shown in movies too, it's obvious. The person wants to stick a knife in their gut. They hate them so much, but they go, let me hug you. Let me get close to you. I love you. I love you. And it's obvious they hate them. They're saying I love you to hide their hate. They think it's working at all times. And if someone tries to expose them and point the finger and say, you hate, you're doing murder, you don't love that person, they will say, what? How dare you? Are you condemning God, man? Are you judging me? Are you exposing God? God doesn't get exposed. God cannot deny himself. Remember, I'm God. I'm man. I'm God. I'm Elohim Almighty, he will say in his heart. Many times aloud. What he does in his heart is what is seen by the Creator, not what's said with the mouth. Because the mouth is never matching what the heart really is. It's constantly lying, constantly deceiving. So then when it puts out this act, if it were taken like on video, just for an example here, anyone at any time that points back to it at any time, the person can sell the image that they did, which is hugging someone, making sure they do that for an image so that no one can ever say to them, these cowards and fearful hypocrites, so that no one can ever say that you hate that person and have evil, wicked intent and murder in your heart for them while hugging them. Your hug covers your hate. If anyone pointed back to it or took a video secretly, anything that comes back on the carnal man, he left an image behind that covered his real sin at the time, and he will talk about the image only, never what's on his heart and what he did in his heart for real at that time, never. He will only, when he talks, he speaks out of the act, that the delusion he's in, because an act is a delusion. That's the very thing believers need to die to, is this wicked selling and buying of the image and act and delusion. That is the delusion, because it believes its own delusion and act. It has to. It's forced to. In literal slavery, and the definition of it is what someone needs to do to hide and save their soul in this world. They're utterly trapped by the Almighty, and they don't see how and don't believe it. This is how it's working. This is how he traps all that trap others with their heart. They don't have to put someone in a cage to prove that they trap others. If they did that work with their heart, even for a few seconds secretly, and did no physical thing, it's seen as murder and trapping others. What does man reap? What he sows. So then the Creator traps everyone that traps others, so that they have to, in a delusion and foolishness and full-on shame, have no choice except worship their image and worship other people's images and hide through selling this act and delusion. The sheep's skin, as Messiah knows, is what it's meaning, on the wolf. That's what they are. It's deep, it's sick, it's what the world is. And he sends his sheep out amongst wolves to get slaughtered, because that's what faith is. That's what faith needs to be proven and tested. It's not some dead thing, some word, some religion. It's actual real experiences and pressure that would put a temptation and pressure to say something won't happen. I'm not going to make it. This won't happen. It's putting a pressure to be faithless. Like falling off a mountain and saying, this is game over, I'm going to fall off a mountain. That's the testing and pressure that needs to come. And at times it's going to get so close that someone's ready to put a knife in someone, and he says, no, stop. That was a test to see what you will do, to test your faith and to grow that faith. But he provides a way then, just at the right time. Always needing to believe no matter how bad it looks, because there's people that are dying in delusions nonstop in this world. It's a hard truth. It's happening. And someone will say we're evil for speaking about the people that are dying in delusion, as if we want them to die in delusion, but it's happening. It's not changing no matter what anyone says, no matter what believers say, no matter what I say. It's happening regardless of what someone's saying. What are you trying to do then? Shut up the truth? As if a lie is going to help someone? A lie can only further destroy someone, while making them think otherwise is a strong deception and delusion. There's people dying in delusion, and some of the severe ones that are just easier to see is like getting a preacher man in the church world getting bit by a snake, and everyone witnesses his death. He says, no, I'm not getting any help because God will save me. And then he dies. What do people suppose that's going to do to someone? Anyone that's even remotely connected and one with that man or nearby or sees this, what is that going to try to tempt someone? What is going to try to enter someone? Well, now finally back to Cain is what? Now Cain brought an offering. He did not respect Cain and his offering, and Cain was very angry, and his countenance fell. This is what man does in his heart, because they're not accepted by the Creator. When they see a believer, they're not being accepted, is revealed more, and that's why it drives people to want to murder believers pretty quickly, because that light shines in the darkness and reveals that they are not of the Father and not blessed. That's why they go around saying, I'm blessed all the time. I'm blessed, I'm blessed. That's why they have faith all over their house in a picture, an image, because they have none, and they're trying to cover that they have none. It's real. It's happening. Is it about the picture? No. Is a believer condemned if there's a couple pictures? No, but they need to learn this truth. They need to know it. And I would believe that they would eventually go away in this case, because I just don't see any other way, because a believer can't be doing anything to try to prove and do that wicked thing that the whole world's doing, is try to prove we're righteous for an image and shine. That's for this world to do. Anyone that needs to prove something, they are proving something. They're proving they're faithless. They're proving they're sinners that don't believe. That's what they're proving, while they think they're proving the opposite, to cover what they really are. Adam and Eve cover themselves. This is what it looks like, those fig leaf coverings. Here's just some examples. It's not all of it. It's some works that man does to cover himself. Having stuff plastered all over the walls, is a covering. It creates an image anytime someone walks in the place. Talking with the mouth is a cover. Sounding like something is a cover. Saying God at the right time is a cover. All these things are tactically and strategically used by the carnal man whenever he feels like his image is being threatened to be exposed. He tries even more desperate to cover himself and put on the act of faith because he has none. And a believer looks wicked, evil, and stupid to the wicked, and evil and stupid because they're not trying to act like anything. And then the words "you see what you get" have been utterly perverted and mean nothing now for the whole entire world, because the whole world never does that. Now those words are dead to this world. Nobody is getting what they see. What you see is what you get. Yeah, right. Does that mean that this is not possible? Well, that's what the world wants. Everyone to be and believe. That can't be so for believers. There is a few. There are anyone who believes in the Creator and trusts in Him. Those words will become true and living in them, despite billions of people not believing. It doesn't matter. That's how it's going to have to be. That's a pressure on faith also, is that most won't believe. The whole world, for instance, for example, has never believed. The whole world's deceived by Satan. That's a constant pressure on a believer, and we have to overcome it. For anyone that has ears to hear and eyes to see, like Messiah says, and like we read more than once, I believe, throughout Revelation for a reason, and because it really is for those that have ears to hear, eyes to see. And it won't be working. It'll be vain and a dead word for those that really don't have eyes to see and ears to hear. That's just the truth. It doesn't sound good. It's not sellable. It sounds evil. It looks evil to this world. So what happens now? Well, you can't speak that truth. Can't speak truth. It can't be sold. His truth isn't sold. Only someone willing to sacrifice themselves can speak the Creator's truth and have their Adam soul and their image slandered and blasted and destroyed more, and willing to have it destroyed more, can speak the truth. That would be true believers, whoever they are in this world. That's what the Father is making them to be, is a self-sacrifice that's pleasing in his sight with salt, a preservative that adds flavor because that's what's pleasing to him, faith, not anything of our own works and trusting in ourselves. That's the way of death. That's a certain thing. Adam's dying, he shall die. Everyone's dying either way. Might as well die to live instead of holding on to that old man and dying and rotting and having birds peck the flesh anyways. How foolish is that in the end? How much shame is going to be having to come to all those that never believed? It's an abomination to Jehovah for someone never to see the shame of all of it. It must be seen. It will be seen. It has to be seen. It's being stored up. It's being stored up. And I'm convinced the Father saves the best for last. And that is, there is teachings in his word that points to that. Because the true blessing, not true as if there's no blessings now, but the majority of the blessings are not coming all in this life. It's going to come back many times over in the resurrection, in the ages to come. And yet there is blessings now, but there's a lot coming. So this is a hard truth also. It's a hard truth to believe this, because this is believing in something we don't see yet, that hasn't come fully yet, which is not saying there's no blessings now, but there is something about things that have not come yet, and the full shame and everything coming back on the wicked that never believed, that were never proven in their own mind as deceivers for who and what they are. It looks like they kind of got away from the Creator and escaped through death. That takes a lot of faith, because the wicked man will sneer and he thinks he won while he shoots himself in the gut or head or something, like they show in the movies and teach. Why are we evils for speaking the truth? That's what they teach and show. Now it's being exposed why they do it, which is never evil if it's truth out of good intent. It's what they sell as evil. They teach that's good. People love that stuff, and they don't know what's going on in their heart. It's not the literal image, once again, even though this happens to some people where, they go and kill people, literally. That's not the image of it, was never the truth. It's what's happening in the heart. Now the person says, I'm going out my way. And they end themselves. Because why? Because they got trapped by the cops, the FBI, whatever, CIA, whoever's chasing them. They utterly got trapped. In their mind, they had to make sure they're trapped and there's no way out. It's utter faithlessness. But there is no way out of evil. That person is not allowed to believe he can escape that. It's not time for him to have faith now. I have faith, I will escape. No, you cannot believe. You have been trapped. You're getting the wages of what you sowed. It's over. You have to be trapped. And the consequences, whatever they are, must come for what we've done. That's something to fear, because he judges according to works, not what someone says, not the image, not the fig leaf covering. If someone killed a bunch of people already, what faith? His life's over. That's something to fear. That's the truth. It's done. It's over. Now, has anyone that's done that repented? I don't personally know. I'm not sure, and I'm not going to strain at a gnat at a 0.000000001%. That maybe the Father pulls out every now and then, so rarely. But it's not something that we're looking at. I'm not seeing that. It's not something that's happening around every day all the time. That's for sure. So they they have to reap what they sow. Otherwise, the Creator would be an unjust liar and an unrighteous judge. Just pardon the person? Just no punishment for what was done? No, the punishment's coming. Whether someone's forgiven or not, the punishment's coming. So that's a serious thing then. It's pretty much over then if life is taken. Now your life has to be taken. Yours as in whoever did that. So when someone gets trapped, they think they've escaped by ending themselves. They sneer in pride. It's amazing how the act looks so real, actually. Because the act in real life is an act. It's just doing what it does in real life. That's it. And I believe that's why so many can act so good. And some more, some less, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold for actors. And those that are not good, get out of here. You're worthless dung. You're horrible, you piece of garbage. You can't act right. That would actually be a better thing if someone can't actually act right. The more that we don't act, the more truth we have. The closer to the Creator we are, because the act is the lie. It is fake. So life is a movie because people say it is, because it's an act, because that's what people are doing and believing, and it really is. So it becomes what it believes. And movies are just a movie of the movie. It's entertainment of real life, which is an act. So it's an act of an act, represented sometimes more accurately and more clown, not as accurate. But even the clown stuff has accurate parts. If someone can see truth and get, it's not even, truth can be gotten from just about anything. If someone's receiving sight from the Creator, they can pull truth out of something because everything is mixed. And all the works, the fruits are mixed. That means there's usually going to be at least a little bit of good in there somewhere. And if someone can pull that out and separate it in their heart and leave out the evil, that's not what man is doing. The truth of this isn't saying the words real quick and that's what it means to do it. Yeah, right. It's not easy to do any of this. And yet it's possible, and that's what we're supposed to believe, that He will do it in us. It's not up to us, and yet we got to do it. See, it's constantly like this. It's constantly sounding foolish to the carnal mind. And we can be partial for anyone that believes and say it's foolish to our own selves because we speak truth about who and what we are. Sinners, no good, rotten, chief of sinners. Definitely not good at all. Then when self can be, is it impartial, lack of partial? When self can be lack of partiality for self, then we can use our own self to rightly divide and see truth through seeing self, through finally seeing self with light and truth and not lying and being blinded and coverings. Whatever someone covers, how will they see? How will they ever learn the sin that they cover? How will they get into the depth of what that sin is, what it looks like in the heart when they cover it? It will never be learned. Covering it is just a temporary delusion that makes it look like it fixed the problem, and that actually guarantees and promises that it will always be there and never go away, and it's going to come back to haunt someone even more directly at some point. It's not going away, that's the point. Whatever's covered doesn't actually go away. That's an abomination to the Creator, that man, a worm, says, I'm going to just cover it up and I got rid of it. I'm God. No, He's in heaven and He looks down on that and sneers at it. And that's why the carnal, wicked, wrathful man sneers, because the Creator's sneering at him. That's why he sneers. He can't see why he sneers. He is whatever he believes, and whatever he believes, he becomes. Whatever he believes in his heart, he becomes. Everyone. What someone believes is incredibly important, and then people toss it around and say, oh, what's it matter, blah, blah, blah. It's incredible what people do. This delusion's so strong. So there's some guy that's a popular player that it got out some time back that he believes in flat earth. Whether he does or not, let's just go take it by his word for an example, as the image, as it's said. Then when interview and pressure came on him with cameras, and anybody can see that finds it, so that's pressure, he goes and hides in the lukewarm middle. You could tell he's embarrassed deeply. It's obvious. Even a blind person would see this. It's so bad and obvious. Why, though, is the question. And then what he says is interesting and is done all the time. What does that matter? What do you mean? Oh, it matters what I believe, one little person? All lives, man. You're just covering yourself. It's all you do is care about yourself and your image. Now you're going to say the words that a believer would say in their heart, in truth, that actually believe it and do those works. You're going to act like you do them in 5 seconds and say those words real quick to cover yourself. That's what the person thinks of truth. It's just a wicked mockery of it, a wicked abomination to the carnal man, used as an unclean thing, just using the truth and even true words as an unclean thing to cover yourself, making it unclean because of the intention of why it's done, to cover self. Now the person's going to act like they don't care, nonchalant, as it said. They're going to put on the act of not caring and being, like that image of I don't give a crap, and acting and putting it on the people as if they're crazy that they think that's important, that one man believes this. And what does that matter anyway? We got more important matters in this world. What does that matter? You just acted like it's important and you believe this, and then you call out something, and now you're turning around 180 and saying and contradicting and burying yourself and deleting yourself by deleting yourself, by eating its own tail. It survives. This is what man's doing, and he doesn't see it. Now he's taking back. He's eating himself to save himself. He will morph into whatever he needs to become, whatever color. If it's yellow surroundings, then he will start turning yellow. If it's green, he'll start turning green. He's so weak and cowardly and fearful that he starts becoming the surroundings very quickly to blend in and go right in the lukewarm. Not yes, not no. Yes one moment, now it's no. Now I'm in the middle. Now I'm yes, now I'm no, depending on the time, depending on the situation. Now I'm taking back everything that I said I believed and saying it doesn't matter. First I said it mattered, and very much said, obviously imply that it matters, because it's truth, flat earth, whatever someone's doing. Now they're saying literally, what does that matter? What does that matter? While they're embarrassed, they're lying. They're deceivers. This is all that people do behind the camera, is lie and deceive. That's all I see. I do not see truth behind the camera. Now maybe sometimes the sin, and it is, sometimes less than others. That's less sin is not righteous. It's still sin. But that's all that people are doing, is lying constantly. Now they can put on the act of truth when everything is going the way in their mind. That's not truth, even if they say the truth literally. If everything is going in God-man's way in his mind, if it's working out the way he thinks it should for his benefit and image, he can then spit out something that's true. Not the Creator's truth, but just speaking carnally, speaking a literal carnal truth. He can do that. If it's not his way for even one little thing, for his image, and what he might look like to others and what people might think of him, he will lie instantly. That proves that even when he tells the truth, he's a liar. Because when the test came to see if he tells the truth, pressure, nothing counts when there's no pressure. Zero with the Creator. Zero counting for proving anything with zero pressure. Zero pressure, zero counting, zero proof. There's no pressure. How could there be proof? Oh, this tree will stand. I'm God. It's a tree, and it's like 1 millimeter thick, 50 feet tall in its mind, and a skinny, a few millimeters thick. We'll just say it's so skinny, so weak, And there's nothing wrong with being that in truth, acknowledging that and growing. But this is in pride and wickedness. This is all evil now. It's nothing in reality. It's a twig that's 50 feet tall in its mind. 66 feet tall, how about? Or 99. 99, 66, 666, 999, 0.999, 0.666. 66,600 miles per hour we're moving right now. Can everyone feel it? Well, it's like in a train, you know. When you're in a train and you're moving, you don't feel it. Oh, okay. That fixes the problem real quick. There it is. See, nice little image sold. It's not proven. It's not tested. Nothing is looked at any further. Just that thing real quick said to instantly believe that, which means it will cover the truth so that someone believes the lie and asks nothing further. Because if they believe that image sold, that lie, because every lie is an image. It's not real. It's an image in someone's heart and mind, spiritual image. Then for sure the truth will not be had in the heart if the image is believed in the heart. It promises that they will never have the truth. Absolutely. That's true for all. If we believe the lie and the lying image, we will never have the truth. What has to happen first is acknowledge that we don't know. And then when enough sight is, that something is a lie, and repent to receive the truth. Now, all those that know don't know anything because they're stuck in pride and they're puffed up in pride. They think highly of themselves, that everything they have came from self, and it's just pride is a condition in the heart. You try to say the words of what it is, but it's something that's in the heart. It's invisible. It's all his truth is invisible, and yet it's real. Everything that's invisible, it's invisible to this world because it's invisible, because it's carnal. It does not see the things of the Spirit of Elohim, of the Father. The natural man does not see the things of the Spirit of the Father like we read. It's why we read that. It's the truth. He does not see. It's incredible. It's incredible what's going on constantly. There is no place for Messiah to rest his head. And if there's no place for the Master to rest his head, there is no place for any of his people, the servants under him, to rest his head, to rest their heads. Because the servant is not greater than his master. If the servant is not greater than his master, how could the servant have what Messiah never had, which is a place to rest his head? The Son of Man has no place to rest his head, he said. Now the servants have no place to rest their head, and they shouldn't think otherwise, or else they're believing a lie, an image, a delusion, and that will cause sin. Because no lie produces fruit. That's an abomination. It doesn't actually do that. Father doesn't allow something that's a lie to produce good fruit. And he doesn't give back for a righteous judgment, evil for good, or good for evil. But then there's all kinds of things a person does in one day, isn't there? How does someone know why they're receiving, for what, and when? If that gets mixed up, then someone will say, well, the whole world already says in its heart that the Creator is wicked, a villain, a monster, because that's what this world is. It looks at the destruction that it is itself and tries to blame someone for it, tries to blame someone else for it. All the sin and evil done in the heart. Nope, I'm good, I'm God, I'm a good person. And then evils come, testings come, troubles come, and they come for a reason known to the Creator, and they come out of him being a righteous judge. And if it were told to them that this is just the truth, that's in his word constantly, that they don't believe. But when you speak the truth, if you were to speak it out loud to someone in this world, watch them not believe it, that you believe in the Creator's judgments and actually believe. That's why we say it, because we believe it and know it to be true, some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. And hopefully everyone's marching and will receive 100. But depending, where every believer is at with growth. Because we actually believe it and are seeing proof for it and believe it. That's why we say it. Then someone will rage in this world. They will rage. They will fill up with wrath. They may blow up or they may try to hide it. One of the two could happen, depending on what their image is that they need to sell, depending on the situation. It might have to, its lips start shaking or, what is it, quiver, twitching, and they're hiding back murder by trying to show love and patience. That's not patience and love, that's murder. That's deception. You deceive your neighbor. That's no friend that deceives his neighbor all the time like this. If someone's angry, they need to show it then. But of course, a believer needs to be angry and not sin perfectly, ideally. That's the only perfect thing. But in truth, hiding anything is already a sin. It's already deceiving its neighbor. It's already a lie. It's a murder. It's a hatred. It's not caring for the other person's life and not having any regard for human life, like is said also in this world for entertainment, because it's entertaining to watch pride, isn't it? It's entertaining to watch people kill each other and fight and punch each other and win, lose, and losers are losers and winners are winners. What if they're all losers? What if everyone that doesn't believe in the Creator and seeks to do His will is a loser? What if that's the cold, hard truth? Is it cold? No, it's not actually cold as an evil, but it's cold to this world. It's seen as evil by this world. It's seen as hard, just like the truth are hard words. All His truth is hard words to the soft, carnal, wicked man and that evil, nasty heart, that deceitful heart, that it's so easy to spit out. The heart is deceitful and wicked above all things, because the reason why the preacher man is saying that, or someone else in there to someone else, is out of hatred and anger for others and condemning them right on the spot. That's why they flow and say those words. We have to make sure that's not happening. Only speaking truth and not speaking out of self's own guilt and delusion and condemning others and getting off on using His word to prove someone's a sinner and want to see sin and condemn them. Is that why people say that in excitement and put on an act of anger or loudness? They need to put on their act. There's nothing real going on. The problem is, the more someone believes their act, the more real it can look, the more better of a deception it is. How does someone become greater in this world? By sinning more. So here's the instruction for how to be a wise prophet and probably make a good amount of money. Here's how to do it. Start sinning more. Start hating people more in the heart. Start deceiving and lying to more people. Don't do it to 2 or 5 or 10. Step up the game, some 30, some 60, some 100, and start deceiving 100 people consistently, and then deceive 200, then deceive 1,000. The devil will reward you, and he'll give you more to deceive and more works of the Almighty, of the Creator, good works. He'll give you more good works to do. Then you'll believe your lie more, that you're righteous, because people are saying you're righteous. Then you'll deceive more while saying, I'm saving people. You're deceiving more and believing the lie more. And the more sin someone has within them, the more they have fallen for real, the more they have actually sinned and murdered, the more they believe their lie, because they need to, out of saving themselves for being spotted as a false prophet and a fraud, as a wolf in sheep's clothing. They have to, by slavery and necessity, through slavery, believe their act stronger, because the sin is greater. It requires a greater cover because it's more obvious. So now the act has to get more hysterical and more just stronger and bigger. And then when someone believes their act more, and then it deceives whoever that person deceives and is meant to deceive, wants to deceive. They call this saving thousands and millions of souls. They call destruction and destroying them saving. Messiah taught so. They travel land and sea to make one convert. And when he is converted, they are converted. Messiah taught that too. They are converted to whatever, they're doing, but not truth. When they're converted, they're made twice into sons of Gehenna, sons of hell, as themselves. They're double condemned and destroyed as the one that deceived them. That's how much the Father hates that work, and that's how much perfectly backward they are from what they are selling. Not only that, once, they're turned into double. It's like an extra confirmation that that person's doing wickedness. It's going to come back on that false prophet fully and perfectly someday, and they can count on it, and death won't make them escape. They would like to hide in the grave forever from the Almighty, who must have all repent and see that all see what they are and who and what they are, and their works, and what good is and what evil is, and what wickedness is and what righteousness is, and who the Creator is, who He's not, who the enemy is, what he's not. All these things have to be seen and known. It's an abomination to Him for that to never be so for even one person forever. It's an abomination. Does it look like that's true? Absolutely not, because the Creator is in the tribulation, and He is what He teaches to be. He already is. He's doing it right now. All of this is also a test on and pressure on Him, because He's proving every day who and what He is. He's proving His own word every day. It's only one part of the grand plan and astonishing works that He's done, and how it's working so many different things all together for the good somehow without contradiction. One thing working for another, for another, for another. It looks like a million gears, and one has a reaction to this, and it just keeps growing and getting bigger, and it's simple, and yet it's complex. It's complex because there's so many simple things going on at once, working together for the good. But complex for the devil is just confusion, contradiction, stupidity, and lies. That's the masquerade of the Creator's complex. It masquerades as the true complex. It comes in the name of truth. It's a wolf. It comes in the name of a sheep. It's what it does with His word. It takes His word, and what it sells is not the truth, but it makes it look like it. It comes in its name. It comes in His word and His name. Someone also said something that stuck out to me quite a bit. Coming in the name is coming in because the Messiah is the Father's word, and He's called the Word of Elohim. And we also need to become this, His word. But Messiah is the Word. He lived the Father's word, which is doing the works of the Father, living what they always meant, not what the carnal man thinks His word means, which is to pick up a sword and stick someone in the gut and say, I'm righteous now. I took care of trash. I took out the trash in the world, Anything that's evil, it's also greatly astonishing. If it's more evil, it's more foolish. So here's just one little part, not all. One part of the foolishness of taking the trash out is that you did nothing. You're a speck. You psycho murderer. That's what it is in reality, in truth. It's lost its mind in sin. It's fallen heavy and deep. Even what the person says, why they did it, is so obviously a lie, because it's one little speck that they took out of billions of people, literally. One speck. Everyone is a sinner. You got 7-something billion people left to take out, including yourself. And if you're not a hypocrite, you'll take yourself out. Well, then they do, and they prove they're not a hypocrite, right? And now we have a problem again, because we just said, well, you would take yourself out if you're not a hypocrite. The delusion is so strong that someone takes themselves out to prove in the end that they were true and righteous and not in a delusion and not a hypocrite, and it utterly proved their destruction. What true believer ever did that to themselves at any time? Messiah did not kill Himself. He was killed by the beast. The beast took His literal life, and He was overcome literally, the flesh. And yet He wasn't overcome in spirit. He wasn't destroyed. His faith did not disappear. He could see the Creator, he could see all the truth, and the beast could not take away what was stored up in heaven. And he rose again, utterly defeating death and the beast and the devil. He rose again anyways. So they didn't really kill him in the end, did they? And yet they did, see? But they didn't, because they did their intention for him to be dead forever, obviously. It's why someone would want to kill them. After they kill them, that proves they wanted that person to be dead forever. How could it be otherwise? But he wasn't dead forever. So they didn't really kill him either. That's the belief that a believer needs to have. As I see more, needs to be believed more. Because that's not the true overcoming, is the beast finally killing someone if it's according to the Father's will. That's not the definition of overcoming sin and death. Messiah overcame death while they killed him. How could this be so? Says the carnal mind. How on earth could that be so? Well, someone doesn't have to understand it fully. I don't. It's whatever I understand right now, with needing to understand it more later. He won't put on someone more than that they can bear with his truth. He won't put on someone more than they can bear with anything, because that's his promise. But that's not a promise for those that don't believe. Cain, let's see, now I wanted to get back at some point to Cain to connect something, but oh, the entering, because they want to enter. They want something to enter. Evil wants something to enter you and me and everyone. Where is it? So Jehovah said to Cain, "Why are you angry? And why has your countenance fallen?" Is it above that? It's not, is it? It's not the exact verse. How do I go back? Where's the back and forth chapter? Always changing stuff. Is it changed? Or Adam heeds the voice of his wife. He's getting punished for listening. Well, let's look up that word, actually, heeded. Oh, wait a second. Did I click the right thing? Genesis 3:17. Okay, thou has hearkened. No, not that. The Strong's 8085. To hear, to listen, to obey. It would bring out a little bit of definition here. To hear, perceive, to hear. Have power to hear, attention, interest, listen to. Judicial, okay, to understand, to listen, give heed, consent, agree, to grant request. I think it's pretty clear. To make proclamation, to cause to be heard. So Adam obeyed and listened to his wife and heard her in this way. And that's why he got punished. That's Adam's punishment. It's not everything, but that's the big reason. And it is sin and for sin, but he didn't correct her. He didn't do anything about it. He got overrun by his woman, controlled, let the sin become himself and let it enter himself. He ate the food. the fruit is the works, whether good or evil. In this, it's the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. It's all evil. It's the mixing of everything that's evil. Eve gave something for Adam to do, to sin. The Father is showing it through eating the fruit that is forbidden to eat. It's so perfect. It's a perfect parable. It's a perfect everything. Actual reality turned into a parable also, which is much of his word. The actual real life stories are as used as teachings and parables also, besides the parables that are like, a certain man where it's like made a story. But even the real life stories are teachings though too. So now Eve's intention was for Adam to sin. So now everyone needs to be watching out what someone's wanting to do to them, because it's not the image itself. Here's a fruit, and then eat the fruit. But that is the truth, though. That's what it could come in all kinds of forms. The sin is the same. It's the same. It's perfect and true. It's simple. It's the same sin that could come in 10,000 different forms in this world, all kinds of different things. Can't people see that the product doesn't make a difference about man's heart and intentions? It doesn't matter how or what form, and some could be worse, some could be lesser as far as the severity of what that sin will lead to or become. It doesn't matter. It's the same sin. Whether greater or lesser, it's the same sin. But now back to, what was I trying to find? Cain. Now it must have been in chapter 4. Now let's see if there's... Oh, there's the arrows. There it is. Man, it's been in front of me. If you do well, will you not be accepted? And if you do not do well, sin lies at the door. What door? Is there just a door always in front of Cain? Every word is true. What is this? What door is being spoken of? Just some worthless, parable or picture. Nothing the Father does is worthless. This door is real. This door can open and close. This door can let things in. What door? The door of the tent. The door of the temple of man. It's something like a door letting something in. Now, if sin tries to enter, we're supposed to shut the door. And why does someone knock? Because they want to save their soul and destroy you. Why does someone knock on Noah's Ark? Because they want to save their soul only. They never believed. They never did anything. They never proved it. They never, this is an example of the judgment. That's why we read it. They only knock now when they're in grave trouble. And the Father doesn't hear them because all this time, all these years, they never repented, never did anything real, never were sorry, never sought after to do His will. Just usury, which is really evil and no heart at all. And now when someone's in trouble, they knock. The door's supposed to be shut. Who's going to do it? The wicked will let them in. That's what will happen in real life. The wicked will let them in. And they will be destroyed for letting them in. And they deserve it. We deserve it then. Anyone that does that. Just let in sin and destruction. That's not being set apart. The devil never could be set apart. When it's time to be set apart, he's won. When it's time to be won, he's set apart. Real life, real world, real people in this world. It will let the devil in. And it will be destroyed for doing so. Because it let it in out of fear, out of being controlled, out of slavery, out of having no power to overcome the image of the beast and worshiping its image and what people will think of it, and through worshiping others' images, it's worshiping its own image. If someone worships other people's images, they cannot do it without first worshiping their own image. I don't see a way for that. If someone else's image is worshipped, it's for self first and foremost. It is worshiping self first and foremost to worship other people. It's a connection. It's doing the self first out of self to do the second thing. It's for self's own protection and self-gain and saving of the soul in so many different ways it could be said what saving the soul is. Just like one sin can be done through so many different ways, the saving of the soul can be done through so many different examples and ways of what that is spiritually and even literally when it's manifested. Like it is in the flood only, naturally first. First the natural, then the spiritual. No spiritual understanding to the natural man. He just sees a literal flood, and now because there's no great flood, that means his word is stupid and has no effect in his heart. It's that because he doesn't believe, he's not receiving. It's because he's stupid, and he's become no effect for believing that, and for being in rebellion and hating the Creator and not believing. That's why his life becomes what it becomes, because he does not believe. A tree is what it really does and believes with its heart. It is that for a reason. And someone's waxing worse and worse for a reason. It's not because they're good and doing good that someone's getting worse and worse. It's because they're doing evil and are evil. The old man is evil and needs to die, needs to be perished and destroyed by laying it down. So then the door is the temple of self. So if someone lies to someone, they're trying to get a lie through the door of that person, because believing the lie that they are selling and telling, if we believe a lie someone tells us, they just successfully got to open the door and enter a lie. Why would someone do that to someone else? To control them, to destroy them. You got to destroy someone and break them down and get them blind by getting them to sin. And they will go blind if someone sins, because the Father's judgment will come down and they will go blinder. And then the person that's blinder can now be controlled easier by the one that's trying to control them and destroy them. And then use the person for their own gain. And then it's a match and a war of whoever has the most control out of the group and people, whoever can use each other the most. This is also what they teach in movies in Hollywood with no truth in sight, and yet there's the image. Always someone needing to control and be the leader of the group, and a great fear. Who's the killer? It's all of them. But someone's trying to find one killer. It must be you, and then they speak out of delusion and fear, and that doesn't even make any sense once someone can see some truth. It's insanity. And then they act like they're friends and buddies when they do this to each other. Here, I'll stab you and you stab me, and then we'll act like nothing happened. We cover each other's sins. And it could be any moment that, just utterly separated because of the evil done. Because of the evil they did to each other and nobody else's fault. Because of the evil that the person did themselves. They caused it. They caused the destruction, the misery, the separation. They did it. If they did good, it wouldn't be so. Stop calling the Creator an unrighteous, wicked judge. 7 billion people to do so. It's pretty tiring hearing it. Hearing it through it being implied all the time, which is no different than saying it outright. It's no different. But there's a little lukewarm thing that man tries to do also. He tries to make a gray area where if he doesn't say it 100% directly but implies it, which is the same thing as saying it, he could say it's just slightly different now, it therefore is not that thing. That's a deceiver spiritually. That's playing deception spiritually, utterly blind. What it's calling different is trying to sell that difference as something that it's not. There is something different about implying than saying it directly. And now because of that difference, the sorcerer tries to sell that there's difference in that it doesn't mean the same thing. They take a little bit of truth, there's some difference, and then try to say it means something different when it doesn't, and use that difference with sorcery and lies to get someone to believe something that isn't true. The difference is just how it's said. The meaning is the same. The liar tries to say that the difference is a different meaning when it's just differently said. That's the difference. They don't speak truth. He needs to do this at the proper time to hide and cover his sins. Sometimes he won't need to do it because he feels safe, like there's no exposure. It just depends on the situation, really, all the time. That's why everything needs to be discerned and righteously judged. Because nothing is like some robot where every situation is identical for everyone at every time. There's no formula. The moment it becomes a robotic formula, it's already all sin and lies. It's already going to do evil and only evil. Because that's not what life is some robot formula. It's not some system. The Creator is not a robot. Man is a robot. The devil is like a robot, dead, cold, systematic, calculating, beastly, instinctly, trusting on instincts that is no different than a lion has, that a bear has. Is someone going to see evil in that? That the Creator is evil? No, these things are so for a purpose. And it allows the truth to be seen for anyone seeking it, to overcome something, to learn it, to see it. It's not a sin in what he created for the intention and purpose of creation, but now speaking of sin, beastly instincts is no good. That needs to be overcome. Speaking beastly instinct out of like some kind of pride is no good. That's not wisdom. Everybody has that. Some 30, some 60, some 90, 100-fold, whatever the number is, everyone has beastly instincts. That's what needs to be put to death. How can it be put to death? Whatever's being promoted, feeding, growing, because whatever is alive needs to keep eating. This is how it's seen also, which is huge to see. Adam is a beast. Spiritually, he's like a beast, and someone needs to eat to stay alive. The Father so utterly proves that a sinner is a sinner because they have to purposely go out of their way with intention to eat, to stay alive. There's no greater proof. There's no more hardcore proof that someone sins because they have to feed themselves to stay alive. You have to feed yourself on purpose. No one can say they don't know, that it's some accident. I accidentally feed myself all the time. Yeah, right. It's done on purpose. It's done with intent. You got to search for it. You got to get the food. You got to eat it to stay alive. So then Adam the beast that everyone is that needs to die, he has to feed on something to try and stay alive desperately. Man, there's so much rightly dividing here. It could get easily mixed up and become instant sin and abomination. And the works are the fruit, the food. He has to eat. He eats more sin to stay alive so he can sin more, so that he can eat more sin to stay. It's a circle of the beast, basically. The more he eats, the bigger his appetite grows, the more he needs to eat. He causes his own destruction and problem. With anything this is applied. He causes it. He starts it, and now if he stops it, well, I got a problem now. I'm withdrawing from my food. Yeah, but you started it. You created it. If you never started it, now you can't blame the circle of destruction for what you're doing, for what anyone's doing, for what we're doing. This is for us to see, not to do, and speak the truth and acknowledge the truth. It's going to try to justify itself. Well, now there's going to be a problem when someone tries to stop smoking cigarettes, right? Or anything else. Not exactly a cakewalk where God-man could just do whatever you want. How come that's so strong? Is it going to be exactly the same judgment for every person carnally? No, it's not. And yet it's the same judgment happening through something else, some other way. He's doing it. Now he's going to say there's a problem when they try to stop. So what's the problem? How do you fix the problem? This is what it's finally getting to. By taking the problem in more that was started for taking it. Now taking it more will fix it, right? No, the Father doesn't allow it to fix it. That's sin. Now you're going to need more as a punishment. And when someone takes more, they're utterly proving that they want more. And this is the circle of the snake eating its tail. This is Adam. This is the judgment in all things, spiritually, literally, however he judges. That's pretty strong. That's quite some severe judgment and delusion and delusion on man's part that he receives as a judgment. When he needs to just speak the truth, that he's so afraid to speak the truth, so afraid and cowardly to tell the truth to the Creator and to man, that he's wicked and a sinner. And then there's business that can run off of all these problems and profit off of it. And then you can sort of say the words out loud in a certain specific group or something. And then they're like magicians, sorcerers. They're like, we fix your problems. I wonder who they really fix. Have they ever fixed a single soul in reality? And now we're not talking about a cigarette anymore. Well, never really was, even though it applies. But how sin is working. Have they fixed anyone? And they charge for their service and fixing, don't they? Don't they know that the fixing is free, that the only good thing from above is free? Everything else charges and it doesn't work and it's a lie. It's coming back on that person somehow, some way if they haven't repented in their heart. Not of this going to some place and then think and see if someone can get someone to believe that that is repentance. They are greatly deceived, because now as long as they believe that's repentance, they'll never actually repent. It's replaced it in the heart. There's like two slots, and it's one or the other. If the one is filled, and only one could be filled at the same time, did I say that right? There's two things, the good and evil, and if the one, then the other is gone. If the other's there, then vice versa. You can only have one. You can't serve two masters. That's the truth. If now it's working like this for all doctrine and truth. If someone got deceived into believing repentance is this or that or this, let's say it's something false. Now that slot is filled in the heart. And now that's all the room taken up. There's no more room in the inn for anything else. It's filled for that one truth there. For another truth, something else filled. So as long as there's a lie filling in the slot of man's heart, they will never have the truth as long as they believe that's the truth. It's filled. It cannot be, because the Messiah said truth that the Father does not allow. No one can actually serve two masters. In reality, their heart is serving one or the other. One or the other with intent. Now, when one is filled in, that's what it serves. It loves money, it loves itself, it serves itself, that's what it serves. It cannot serve the Creator and mammon at the same time. One has got to be leaving and the good filling in, and the other's got to be going as one, and one has got to be coming in and the other perishing and going. Or one has got to be perishing and all the good is going away. Whatever is left of someone just keeps getting worse. From 0 to negative 1,000 or whatever number, it doesn't matter. And someone says they're a full moon. in their heart, full of light from the beginning, not acknowledging that they're sinners and naked like Adam and Eve. The only thing that can happen now is decreasing in light. Somehow it's getting worse, and it was never even the true light. So even the light that someone is their image. It's if they're not a true light, then what light is it that the world speaks of? What light is the false light that Messiah speaks of? That says, what if that light in you is darkness? How great that darkness then? What light is that if it's actually darkness in reality, meaning it's not true light? It's a fake light. It's a projected light. It's an image of light. And even that has to be decreasing as the moon darkens all the way to dark, from full to dark. Someone says they're a light, they just casted the image of light and sold that to people and to the Creator, thinking that man can deceive the Creator, thinking it can deceive anyone and everyone. The works prove it, believes that it can deceive anyone. The works prove that, it believes that. Not the mouth and the worthless lip service that many do. Now that even that fake light, that full moon, he shows me about this image, something true about it. Even the image is decreasing, meaning their very cover, which is the false light projected, even that decreases until it's perfect darkness in the end. It's just getting worse and worse. So then something about this should be able to be seen as someone waxes worse and worse. It gets more obvious. Their cover is failing, the image is failing. Even that fails and turns into darkness. Well, it needs to match what it really is. Pitch black darkness in the end. That's what someone is in the end, for saying that they were not that in the beginning, and saying that we are that from the beginning. Someone will be light in the end, full light. If we say we're darkness, a dark moon, now it's acknowledging actual truth that lines up with his truth. Now we see we are the darkness and wicked. We really believe that. There's no image. It's real. It's true. Now for speaking the truth and acknowledging it, the Father blesses this and gives, and we are a dark moon. We are that reality because we say so in the heart and acknowledge it. Now we're a black moon. Well, that's not good, but now it increases every day. Now that moon will increase until it's full. And the light that's increasing is real and not an image for saying we're dark. Now it will increase every day, starting with a little. And that little bit of light is the light the Father sees, and he forgives the darkness that his people are, that they need to overcome. He doesn't condemn us for not being what we need to be, with no excuse to sin. Fine line, with no excuse to sin and use grace as a license to sin. Now that light keeps increasing in his people, and it's real light. It's not fake. There's no image, because the truth was acknowledged. Only lies are an image. The truth was acknowledged, therefore this dark moon is real, which is difficult, but it's real, which is good, because now it can increase. And the light that it's increasing is real for a blessing. It's not the image of light. It is light. It is the true light that Messiah lived and is. But he was the first light in the world. And it's not the outwardly light that people want to be seen as by others, like Moses, teaching that carnal thing that man wants, that a carnal man wants, a wicked man wants, a wicked, deceitful heart wants. He wants to be seen by others as a shining light outwardly. That's not the true light. It never was. That's why we read the contrast, with Messiah is the true light. He shines, but it's not the light the world recognizes or talks about or believes at all. It hates. And it doesn't see that light. When it sees it, it's freaking out. It's never seen it before. It never saw anyone actually believe in the Creator. And let's say they didn't, but now they finally have. It's not something someone's seeing all the time, every day. That's how rare it is. They just saw what light really is. And that light, because it's real light, shines and exposes actual sin and darkness around it, where the image of light can't do that. It's just an image of light. People believe it's light because that's what's sold and that's what's bought by the other side, but now this image is just a projection of light. If this mouse is, if there was a picture on here of a light, that light that I shine doesn't expose any real darkness in reality. It doesn't do anything. It's just an image. It's dead. It's fake. That's why it doesn't bother anyone specifically. That darkness doesn't reveal anything. People want that. People want Moses. They want a leader that's in darkness within, in the true darkness, to lead and rule them instead of the Father who is light, to be their King, and Messiah now who is light, given to be light, is light. The Father is the sun, and Messiah is the moon, and his people are the stars. Well, in this world, stars are the gods, the projected lights that are in deeper sin than the average person. They shine more because they're in deeper sin. This is how shockingly, astonishingly horrible it is and backwards. It took more sin to be in that position. And if someone doesn't think so, well, what are we supposed to say? Go try it? Go sin? We can't want that for others, but it's the truth. They had to do more sin in their heart to become a bigger, brighter light in this world, seen by the world as a light. What if that light in them is darkness? Have they ever considered it? Now, finally, I think I can go back to is it gonna go back? Oh, I heard a different tab. Matthew 6:19. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy and thieves break in and steal. So that's the door that we read from the beginning. To watch out, you must overcome it, Cain. Don't let the sin in the door of your temple. Don't open the door to it. That's what we need to learn to do. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. Why don't they? They would love to. Not because someone doesn't want to, but they're not allowed. They can't. The Father does not allow anything unclean in his kingdom. He preserves and guards the way to the tree of life. It must go through his word, his sword, must go through Messiah, and that includes the truth of Messiah, all of it, every word, everything about Messiah, pointing to Messiah. All his word points to who Messiah is, who lived every word. Someone must go through every word, through Messiah, through belief, through every word, in order to get to the tree of life. They can't just break in and steal. The kids aren't going to steal from the Creator. He's not allowing that. They're not actually stealing anything valuable or real. They're stealing worthless things in reality. They can't steal of his kingdom. This is what we're supposed to believe. Lay up treasures, so storing up treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Let's see, what do I have here? The other verse that do not eat the bread of a miser, nor desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. That's all too common, powerful. That's the truth. Do not eat the bread of the food of that person, see, nor his delicacies. Don't be deceived by them. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is. So is he, so he is. That's what he really is, but he's putting on a deception. Eat and drink, he Eat and drink, he says to you, but his heart is not with you. Why does he say eat and drink? Because his heart is not with you. To hide that he's not with you. He's against you. He hates you. He covers his hate and his murder. He has to. Every work done under the sun is done for a reason, and it's going through the Creator's truth. There is not no reason someone did something when they say, oh, no reason. I don't know, no reason. Oh yeah, they're saying that because that answer to that would reveal real sin that they've never acknowledged in their heart before. That's why they say, I don't know, and make it look like they have no clue, just instantly now going blind, like crossing the eyes, snakes going on in the marbles rolling around, head twisting around like an owl and back, cuckoo clock going off all of a sudden when anything goes near revealing some kind of sin. Now all of a sudden the person's insane, huh? Now all of a sudden they have no clue what you're talking about. So desperately worshiping the image of the beast and following that slavery of sin like a zombie to the grave, thinking that it's escaping and hiding when it's being destroyed for trying to escape and hide. Just for that reason alone, it's being destroyed for trying to escape and hide. It can't hide. Oh, it's so convinced in itself. It's so fearful. It will double, triple, quadruple say that they're telling the truth. It will not tell the truth. It cannot tell the truth. Someone should fear that because it's happening all the time, and it will make itself look just like the truth. When it tells the truth or lies, it looks exactly the same. It convinces itself and makes itself look like the truth because it desperately needs to believe its own lie and convince itself to perform the act and sell the lie to protect and hide that it's a wolf. For some reason, it needs to look like a sheep before others for some strange reason. How come it can never be a wolf openly? That's weird. Nobody can be a wolf openly. And if they are obvious, they've lost their mind. Their image is destroyed. They're on the brink of literal destruction. That's why that's so. The people that are in great sin call those the wicked. That's evil because of why they say it. Because they say it out of making themselves righteous and better than those people that have lost their mind. That could be them next week anyways. That's what those people were before. Normal by people's standards. All of a sudden someone's fallen deeply, that could be them anyways, but it is them. It's everyone. The Creator doesn't see anyone as better than anyone, so why someone says someone is evil? Well, they're wicked, when it's being done to hide their sins and their wickedness, that's evil. It's not talking about evil then, just the image of it. I'm not that person, it convinces itself, because you haven't in your mind sold an image of what that person did. You're not a robber, you're not a killer, because nobody saw me do robbery for an image, killing for an image. In reality, all it's doing in his heart is robbing and killing people. It makes a lot of money very often doing this. Is there anything someone can do besides worship money? I mean, is there anything else to do in this world in people's heart? Serving it and desperately worshiping it, putting up ads every 5 seconds. And then there's ads for, Bible stuff, God, Jesus stuff, as people say, and sell and talk about his word. Then they got ads too. Desperately trying to make money off his word in some way, shape, or form. Unbelievable evil and corruption. You can't just do some kind of job, some kind of service. You got to make money using his word. Liars, faithless liars. They don't believe. They got to make the excuse. This is the deception. This is the slippery slope someone falls down. If that were exposed and brought to their attention, they would use an excuse. and say, how do I survive? So, gotta make money, gotta live. Do you live? Do you make money? That's going to be the slippery slope someone falls down. Justifying and acting like they're poor when they're not carnally poor, when they have what they need in reality. And I'm speaking of all those that have what they need that do this. And there's some people that are, carnally poor, but I'm not speaking of them right now. They're not the majority of the selling and corruption of this. They do less damage and wickedness as far as selling lies than most of the rich and famous and people who have much. Does that mean the poor person's not a sinner? No. Everyone's a sinner. But these people become worse. They do a lot more damage and destruction selling their lies than someone that's a sinner that's just not selling lies and getting popular in that kind of way, like growing, some 30, some 60, some 100. But now we need to be getting the good 30, 60, 100, not the evil. The good works, some 30, some 60, 100, the good fruit, not the wicked. Not increasing in wickedness and calling that good and evil good and good evil. Someone will make an excuse and try to find a word in his word to justify the love and serving of money in their heart. They'll try to do that, and they'll likely say, how would I survive? They have to do something so foolish and stupid and act, because when something's a lie, it has to be stupid and foolish and just non-reality, no reality. They have to act like they're poor and that they wouldn't survive without making money off of his word. That's what they end up having to do, some foolish lie. How about all the people that are not making money? How about any true believer not making money off his word? How are they surviving? Someone becomes what they believe. They will be trapped in the lie they want to believe to hide their sins and to continue the sin, to justify it. Their reality will become more and more, I am poor, I cannot live without making money off his word. Mark the Creator's words for judgment. That's what will become their only reality. There will be no escape. There will be no escape from it. They will have to believe that, and their life will become that more and more and stronger and stronger. It'll be more impossible to come out tomorrow than it ever was before, than any other day. More impossible a week later than any other day before it. That's the judgment. That's the direction, because that's just the Father's perfect, utter perfect showing of his hatred for sin and zero acceptance for it. The more someone sins, the more he hates it. It's shown through this trapping and impossibility. More foolishness, more shame in reality that it's not seeing, that someone's not seeing, is increasing. People get very stupid, so bad that the world calls people out. That's what happens to these rich and famous people. They might as well be clowns at that stage in their life. They've lost it. They've lost it all. And this is not to say that there is no one that will repent. There's no chance of, that's not our place to say, but his word is true. We will say that it's like a camel walking through the eye of a needle. That's going to be true no matter what. Oh, it's sickening to see. It's difficult to see perversion like this, because it's a perverted heart that loves money. It's a perverted heart that makes money off his word. That's not the only corruption going on. If someone's doing that continually with no regard, no sight, no repentance in it, they're going to grow in it. They got to be producing, right? Got to grow, got to prove we're righteous, self-righteous, the delusion. Someone's got to grow in sin and prove that they're more righteous. They sell it as the Creator's righteousness, but really it's self-righteousness. It's of the devil. It's of self-righteousness. But it acts and masquerades like a believer. righteousness from the Father, increasing in his righteousness. It's all self, for self. Then it needs to convince itself and believe that it's doing this for the intention of helping others. How can it help the ones that it lies to? It's not, but it needs to believe the image, the lie. And that image fills in the slot of the heart and replaces the truth that it's a deceiver and a destroyer that hates everyone and is proving it every day. The more it hates and kills people, the more it has to believe a stronger image and lie that it's saving them. We don't save anyone, and yet there is a way through hearing the truth, if someone repents, through hearing the truth that the Father calls, through his people. And the Apostle Paul, for example, says and can say in truth while sounding like a devil to the world and a liar, and he will be condemned for what the whole world's already actually doing, the evil, saving someone. He knows that he doesn't save anyone like the false prophet believes he is saving someone of self and power of self. And yet there is a good way where he says something about saving someone. He's not talking about the wickedness. He's talking about the good now. And the wicked won't see what this good is. They won't. They cannot just stop what their life and their heart is and what they're doing. Oh, let me just turn around 180. That can't happen. Even if they were to believe, it wouldn't just happen boom like that. No one can just change their heart in 1 second. That's going to take a lifetime of belief and being molded in the fire by the Creator through belief and repentance for whatever we do and acknowledgement. People act like they can just change their heart, and the delusion is that people change their heart in 5 seconds. Yeah, that's happening. They change their mind, but their heart's not actually changed. They just changed their mind, blowing like the wind. Their heart didn't change. Someone believes they changed instantly because they said so that moment, because they need others to believe that image, and people scoff and mock and laugh. And you can see it every now and then. Well, I mean, it's happening a lot. There's a lot of people in the world. When someone says they did this and, someone laughs, and then that person gets angry because someone doesn't really believe them because they do the same thing. It takes one to know one kind of exposure and condemnation. They did that to hide that they are that, and it's just a circle of it blaming others. And then the person gets angry because their image wasn't believed, and they must kill anyone that doesn't believe and worship their image. Nebuchadnezzar must kill, hunt anyone that doesn't worship his image, his statue. The Father is good. He gives us a perfect picture of what the carnal man is. And he would like to throw people in the fire and burn them. That's wicked man. That's not the Creator. And yet the Father is burning his people in fire. Nothing to do with the devil. But the devil has mixed it all up, called good evil and evil good, make himself look like a messenger of light when there is no light in him, and make the Creator look like perfect darkness, because that's what the devil is. Now the Creator is wicked, he's evil, he's a monster that only wants to hurt and destroy forever. Never forget the forever part, with no mercy forever and torturing most people forever with no end forever. This is righteous judgment, they must say. I don't think you'll hear that. I haven't heard that ever, righteous judgment, when hell is connected to their righteous judgment. That's not being said like all the time, is it? Because it's not righteous. They would have to hide, they'd be afraid to say that. And maybe someone here and there, they're so blind they say it, and they found a lie to deceive people with on how to get people to believe that hell is righteous, and even that it's love. That it's love to send people to hell. Well, how do they get away with that in their mind? The Creator doesn't send anyone to hell. They send themselves there. There it is. Anything more than yes Yes be yes and no be no is from the evil one, is from the devil, from evil, from corruption, from sin and darkness, and from the carnal man, from flesh, from the devil. Anything more than yes, yes, no, no. Let your yes be yes, your no, no, is from the enemy. There's another example of the lukewarm, wicked yes and no mixed together whenever it wants to be in the lukewarm safe place of impossibility and delusion and contradiction that doesn't actually exist, and they know it and can't acknowledge it. They keep getting further from that truth, further and further and further. Soon a person doesn't even know what that even remotely looks like. Man, back in the day, thousands of years ago, it must feel like I don't know, something like that. Long, long ago, when I wasn't in as much debt, when I saw that truth and was closer to it. Now I'm so far away, I don't remember what it even looked like, sounded like, smelled like. It's just gone. You know, that's like the end of man. That's the end of his way, death. They knew it at some point that they lied. They covered it. They thought that it would work, and the Father punished them, and they went blinder, thinking they can mock the Creator. That's why we read, He cannot be mocked. They said they would come back. They said it would be okay. We'll acknowledge it someday, blah, blah, blah. Nope, it got worse because of doing all that. And then it got worse, and then it got worse. And further and further and further as a punishment for constantly lying. From the first lie, and it grew and grew and grew until the whole loaf was leavened in the oven. And it was complete corruption. When testing comes, it just grows bigger for bigger sin. Now for a believer, testing needs to grow us bigger for good instead of sin. The leaven, the false doctrine that the Pharisees sell, only makes people sin when there's pressure on them. People can act righteous and look as like a shining angel of light when there's zero pressure at that moment. When there's heat, which increases, well, if it's sealed, it increases pressure, but heat, it's known. You know, put on the heat, put on the pressure. In the oven, when there's heat, there's pressure testing that thing. What's it going to do? It's going to grow worse. When there's a testing to see if someone's prideful, they become more prideful. When there's a testing for patience that actually tests it, the heart becomes impatient and proves it's got no patience, and it sins, and its sin grows. While it thinks it's wiser, over the years, it's literally getting worse and worse and worse. What an utter taking. It's just hard to believe. The Creator cannot be messed with, cannot be mocked. Isn't that not to be messed with? Because mocking someone's messing with them, thinking they can be messed with. The Creator can't be messed around with, can't be mocked. Why so much evil? Why so much deception? Why can't man just do any good? It's incredible. Well, those answers start getting answered, you know, in truth, but I still ask them out of just wonder, not out of the same reason like the world would say it, out of utter confusion with condemnation and evil and blame and all that, but just shocking. It's stunning to see that no one can do good. It's stunning to see the Creator's truth just coming alive, which is meaning we have to see a lot of evil right before our eyes. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you is darkness, how great is that darkness? And right above it we have this very big, important teaching. Do not be like the hypocrites, moreover, when you fast, with a sad countenance. This is an act. This is an act. For they disfigure their faces. That's an act on the outside. that they may appear outwardly to literal eyes, to people, to men, to be fasting. Is that what fasting is? To look like you're fasting to others? That's what it is. Yeah, that's what it is to people. Yeah, it is. That's what it is. This is what it cannot be for us. Don't do this. This is what the whole world does. This is what the hypocrites do. Fasting to them is looking like you're fasting to others to be seen as righteous and to pity them. They're trying to mimic true pity that cannot be mimicked. The Father does not allow actual pity to come from evil. There is a good pity. This pity that someone seeks is wicked, from the devil pity, only connected to death and destruction pity. Good pity is the pity Messiah has on the people when he walks around seeing them, seeing their destruction. The Father's pity is good, not man wanting to be pitied as if he's God Almighty. Surely I say to you, they have their reward. There it is. They have the reward. We just leave them alone, leave them be. They are getting judged and they are getting rewarded with punishment. They have their reward. Their reward is what? To be seen by men and believed by men, deceived, to appear fasting and to be a righteous. That's their reward. That's what they want. That's why they do it. They get what they want. The Father gives them what they want. To some 30, some 60, some 900, some a little more, a little less, some this way, some that way. How he does it, I don't know for any given person, but he's doing it. He's giving people what they really want in their heart secretly. They do it so that they get worship and are seen as righteous and good by many, by the people. They get that reward. That means they get the crowds actually worshiping their image, not loving them, worshiping their image, and believing their lie that they're righteous for fasting, and they believe the image and fake act and countenance that they sold. They get their reward. Their reward is punishment and delusion. Their reward is to destroy those that believe in the destruction. And then these have fornication between itself, wicked fornication, adultery. They screw each other. But when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, so that you do not appear. Do not do this in the heart. Don't purposely appear, so that you do not appear to men to be fasting, but to your Father who is in the secret place, because he sees what man doesn't see. That's a pressure on man to obey these words. These aren't words that could just be obeyed just like that, just done. Someone has to actually do work and seek the Creator and learn to do it. It's not just, I'm going to do it real quick. No, they can't. So one's heart doesn't change in 5 seconds like that. It doesn't. And yet I'm not saying that to say it's impossible. That's not the intention, but it's to say that what man thinks he can do by saying some words real quick is a lie. You can't just do this. What it appears to be that someone just changes real quick is not so. That takes hard work and a lot of fire and burning. That takes a lot of patience and growth, which is growing pains. It takes a lot of testing. Just to be a little bit of the good takes a lot, let alone just keep this verse perfectly, 100%, the full load, the full thing. Yeah, right. They're not doing it. They appear to men to be fasting on purpose, so that and now you could apply anything that someone is doing, discerning why they're doing it. It doesn't have to be fasting. Now replace fasting with any other thing. If they're doing that thing, replacing the thing with fasting to appear as righteous and good and appear as what that thing makes them look like, good before men, it's the same sin Messiah says to never do, like the hypocrites. So it's not just fasting. This teaching applies to all, for anyone that can see anything that fits, anything that has what the heart of this means. Now you can put something else in there besides fasting. because what Messiah is teaching is not literal fasting. He's using it as an example for what they really did. They were doing this with fasting, but it's an example. It's a parable to teach something greater in the heart that applies to anything that applies. And it needs to be given from above to see and know what applies and what doesn't, because we can't make things up. This is huge, huge. Nobody, like they say, like make videos and clickbait, like the government doesn't want you to know. They don't want you to know. They masquerade and do. No, now this is real. This is the truth. This is not about some product or government, whatever. Some clickbait thing trying to just draw you in. This is what every false prophet literally fears greatly and doesn't want anyone to know. Now it's applying. All those other times people say those words is to hide and masquerade what it really always meant and really means. Making it out to be like some product that they don't want you to know about one thing. And there's probably some bits of truth in it as usual mixed up in the lie. But why they're saying those words is not the truth. It's just masquerading. You say something over and over and over again. It makes people go numb to it so that by the time it's said out in the world, wherever, they already believe something about those words. They've been brainwashed and deceived. And now those words are dead and mean nothing to someone. That's how the devil works on a grander scale, using the servants like puppets to do his bidding, his will, which man desires to do. Messiah said they do. Let's type in desire. It's not picking up that word. Oh. Beware of the scribes who desire. What is this word, desire? Which love to go in long clothing. I think it's love here. Desire 13 times. Will, would, have, will, would, but its meaning used quite a bit. To will, have in mind, intend, to be resolved or determined, to purpose, to desire, to wish, to love, to like to do a thing, be fond of doing, to take delight in, have pleasure. Beware of the scribes who desire, who will to, who purpose to, who do it on purpose, who love to, all those things in desire in their heart, to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces. Is greetings itself sin? No, not greetings by itself is sin. And yet this has become unclean and sin. Messiah is speaking all of this out of the evil that it is, that this isn't all. Beware of the scribes who desire to go around in long robes, love greetings in the marketplaces, the best seats in the synagogues and the best places at feasts, who devour widows' houses, and for a pretense make long prayers. They will receive greater condemnation. What about the word pretense? pretense, cloak, show, color, pretext, alleged reason, pretended cause, show, under color, as though they would do something, right? Pretending like they're going to do something but never do. Does that ring any bells? Like ding 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 ding, ding 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 ding, ding 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 ding, because that happens a lot, and it's something that we all have to watch out for. And I know I've been guilty of doing it and failing in it and wanting not to fail in it. It's evil, it's wicked, it's a lie, it's a deception to make it out like we do something and then never do it. What was the reason? It's connected back to worshiping our own image. There's fear somewhere. It's all being hidden by this world that's working out of fear. That's why someone says they'll do something and they never do it, because there was some kind of fear there, cowardly fear. Not good fear, set apart fear, but cowardly fear. Test it. People can test it. But the problem is man doesn't even do that. He tests things with partiality so that he's always right. So that he's never wrong, rather, both are one. So he's always right, so he's always never wrong, because he doesn't want to see himself as that at any time. Well, I know that's truth. I know that it's true about self. I know it's been done, and not just once. So how could someone be saying what? They're better than me? They're better than someone else? They're lesser than me? That's all lies. Man is the same. He's the same in the heart. The image doesn't matter. So pretext, alleged reason, pretended cause, to show, under color, as though they would do something, in pretense, ostensibly. So now with all that there, beware of the scribes who desire to go along best seats in the places who devour widows' houses. Really, they do this? They don't look like they do this. Not to those who are blind. And for a pretense make long prayers. These will receive greater condemnation. Now Yehoshua sat upon the treasury and saw how the people put money into the treasury, and many who were rich put in much. Then one poor widow came and threw in 2 mites, very small copper coins, worth a fraction of a penny, which make quadrans. So he called his disciples to himself and said to them, assuredly, or truly, I say to you that this poor widow has put in more. Who believes this? He's not joking or playing games here. And there's a time to be light without sin, but he's not a jokester like the devil, always lying, always joking and playing games through lies and deception. This poor widow has this is nothing, like a fraction of it's nothing, 2 mites, right? Nothing to this world. I say to you, this widow has put in more than all those have given. All those who have given to the treasury, she'd put in more than all of them, and all of them combined. Many who are rich put in much. That they put in a lot, not just a couple bucks worth today. And this one that put in like dog crap is what it's seen by someone. Worthless nothing, spit on it, crap on it amount compared to them and how good they are, how much they put in. He's teaching, he's making a teaching out of this. This widow came and threw in 2 mites. She put in more than all those who have given to the treasury. For they all put in out of their abundance, But she, out of her poverty, put in all that she had, her whole livelihood. What's that bringing out? What's the teaching in the heart? Is giving giving? No, giving is not just about dumping money off and just dumping some product to someone, and it's not to control someone to say when to do or not to do, how much not. But that's the world's giving. That's not what it ever meant. What about the truth? What about they're starving? What about they're hungry? Spiritually, that no natural food can fix or solve, that no money can do anything for the true life. Did that person give anyone truth? Did they speak one word of truth, a little bit? Why did they do it? And also, they did it out of their abundance. They're not hurting. They make sure they're not hurting. Who hasn't been guilty of this? This is what not to do now. This is not for unbelievers. They'll never do this. They'll always do this evil. This is for believers to do, to not do, for they put out of their abundance. They make sure it doesn't hurt, and even that hurt, kind of force yourself for the image to make yourself look good, blah, 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 the same thing. And then put in your own amount, which is our own law, just making it up as we go to whatever doesn't hurt us in our heart, just following our heart, which is the worst thing anyone can do. It's just the deceitfulness and the law, that it's just making up the law according to what its stone cold hardened heart already is, and it's working around that. It's worshiping self. It's not denying self. It didn't hurt. It's out of their abundance anyways. But she, out of her poverty. Which one takes faith, for an example now? Which one takes faith? One of them takes faith, the other takes zero faith. Zero faith is proven in a way that no one in the world believes for what's happening in this world constantly. People don't know what proves faithlessness. This is one thing that proves faithlessness. Something that the world wouldn't think would prove faithlessness at all. For they all put out of their abundance. Storing up barns, I'll build more barns. I'll make sure I always have, always have. It's a heart condition. It proves faithlessness, this work. Doing this, and this is, can someone see it's not about carnally telling someone what to do now? It's not about the penny, and yet it's being used for the truth. But she, out of her poverty, put in all that she had. That takes faith. Because what about the future? And it puts pressure. It's believing that will be provided for. Not being greedy, not being stingy, not doing this work in the heart of doing it out of abundance. And I know I'm not perfected in it. No, I'm not. But this is abomination, though. It doesn't matter that I'm not. That's my own more carnality, however much there's left to die in self and in every believer. This is evil. This is garbage of self to do. This is to watch out for not to do, but to do this in the heart. Works of faith. Now, when someone does something out in the world that would prove faith, not for the intention to show, it's always needing to watch, such a fine line with his way in the heart. But if someone did a good work and it was a work of faith, no one in the world's going to believe it was. They won't believe that was a work of faith, and it will not be praised. Who's ready to go out and march to get slaughtered? And not just not get praised in the world, because we're not supposed to be seeking that kind of thing anyways, like we just read with the Pharisees, doing things for that intention. But to get sent out to get slaughtered, let alone not praised and worshipped, not wanting to be worshipped, not putting that out, not putting that sorcery out and wanting that, but to get slaughtered too. I just read killed, as I was saying, slaughter, and he sent them another servant. There it is, actually. And at him they threw stones, wounded him in the head, and sent him away shamefully treated. And again he sent another, and him they killed. Who sent them? Now in this example, this is a believer that was sent. Who sent him? Well, the Creator is sending, ultimately, and through Messiah, all authority, and he again sent another, and him they killed, and many others, beating some and killing some. Therefore, still having one Son, his beloved, he also sent him. Now Messiah is speaking. Well, isn't he speaking, using himself now as an example of what the Father did? He also sent him to them last, saying, well, they will respect my Son. But those vine dressers said amongst themselves, this is the heir. What do they see when they see a real heir and a king? What does their abominable heart do? It does abomination instead of seeing something good, valuable, glory, actual righteousness, and heir and king. It sees abomination. This is the heir. Come, let us kill him. Because now this heir is nothing to do with what heir is in this world, or king. Nothing. Because now this is the true heir and king. This is what they do to a true heir and king, not a carnal king. Let us kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they have robbery. Only just that person's only dung, only used for our gain. Only will kill and get his inheritance and steal it. Yeah, that's happening a lot more than someone in the world is even remotely. Are they admitting it all? It's that corrupt, the heart. It will act like it's not doing that, but secretly it wants someone dead so that it can take the money or kill someone. It would like that very much. So they took him and killed him and cast him out of the vineyard. Like a piece of dung, took him and killed him and cast him out. Therefore, what will the owner of the vineyard do? What will the Creator do? He will come and destroy the vine dressers and give the vineyard to others. This is what happened to Jerusalem. Messiah is teaching this also, that what happened to natural, carnal Jerusalem. They were his people, right? Now it's given to the Gentiles. That's who's mostly been called ever since Jerusalem was destroyed. Have you not even read this scripture? The stone which the builders rejected has become the chief cornerstone. What a contradiction, to be looking like you're building the very foundation that you reject. This was Jehovah's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Psalm 118. And they sought to lay hands on him, but feared the multitude, for they knew he had spoken the parable against them. They knew that much, that it was against them. Feared the multitude. This is speaking of what's happening for real. Forget what they're saying to the crowd. They are full of fear. They're always worried about their position and what they do and what people think of them and what they sound like. That's why everyone in the world's constantly saying, I don't care what anyone thinks about me. We can't be believing that. It's an utter lie. They're lying constantly. It's all that they care about and fear is what people think of them, what they sound like, what they look like. All of those things they fear and care about very much. Lying. Then they sent to him some of the Pharisees and the Herodians to catch him in his words. This is evil. This is not speaking truth, but if truth speaks to the lie, it will catch the lie as a lie for doing good. This is what the wicked do. They think they do the truth by purposely trying to catch someone in their words and do the result of that. And they're not doing it. They're trying to do the result, put on the act of the result that truth would do, purposely. There's no intention in the heart when Messiah speaks truth to them, and then that truth catches them in their lie. He's not trying to catch them like this wicked work with his heart. Who can cut right in between? Know about the one and not do it while knowing about the truth, and watching out for that and having it all in order without any contradiction in the heart. Now this is the masquerade once again, because there's always two sides to the sword and everything. This is what someone has to do to make themselves look righteous. They have to purposely dig for sin in others to make it look like they're telling the truth by trashing them and making them look like sinners and liars and bad, wicked people. That's their intention from the beginning, to catch someone in their words. We know that you are, when they had come, they said to him, Teacher, we know that you are true, liars. What an utter contradiction. Yeah, you do know somewhere deep inside, don't you? And yet that's not why you say it. And care about no one, well, no partiality. For you do not regard the person of men, but teach the way of Elohim in truth. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Care about no one. I see if that was taken just literally as can be, word for word. Yeah, Messiah doesn't care about anyone. He's wicked. You know, I wonder how they said that. Whether they did that on purpose, and that's a masquerade too, but it means no partiality. I'm not sure. Snakes are snakes, man. They're serpents when it comes to these kind of works, and they think it's wisdom. And carest for no man. This is a particle. Not, like a negative, 1,000 something times not. So cares not. I guess that word might be added to make it make sense in English, maybe. Take heed, behold, beware, look on to discern. But yeah, anyway. Oh, where was I now? Anyways, they came in to do a bunch of wicked testing. Now someone thinks they're God in their own heart. That they test people. I'm just testing you to see what you say, liar. You're backtracking and going backwards and making up the story because you got caught. You didn't test anyone for righteous intention and with purpose and knowing you were going to do that beforehand. You live backwards. You do the works of delusion and then you work backwards and reverse and change those words that you did to make up your own story, fit whatever that you couldn't see the last 5-10 seconds that you went blind in. You couldn't see what simple thing was coming. You couldn't see that situation that was coming and how someone would answer you in truth or this or that. Now you got to go, oh, I'm just testing you. Yeah, right. Yeah, right, someone's doing that out of some kind of righteous thing, testing. Now, there is a good way to do the good testing. That's not what the world's doing. Nonsense. Just testing you, right. The devil's testing someone. Hilarious. Testing them for what? Righteousness and making sure there is none? Well, that would be true if that's what they're doing. Well, that is what they're doing, aren't they? Testing someone for backwards evil, thinking they're God and the tester and creator of all things in pride. They don't know what testing is. They don't know what humility and humble and testing really is. They don't know what testing Messiah did to his disciples whenever he did that for a teaching, for their benefit, to see what they would do. But he knew what they would do. It was for their gain, as if the devil's going around doing that for people. Laughable nonsense and hypocrisy. You know that we know that you are true. You knew that he was so true that you murdered him, right? You do not regard him, but teach the way of Elohim in truth. Oh, so you killed the one that teaches the way of Elohim in truth, and you knew it. You knew it. See how stupid and caught evil gets? Here's one proof right here. This is bad. You said it. You cast the image. You said it. Isn't that all you care about, is what you said and what you sound like and what image you leave behind? Pharisees? You said, we know that you are true. Care about no one, no part, for you do not regard the person of men, meaning he's doing righteous judgment. They're saying that he's righteously judging, but teach the way of Elohim in truth. You say he teaches in truth, and you know it. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? That's what they have to do, a bunch of blind, wicked sin and folly and shame and contradiction in order to do this evil that they want to do. Oh, didn't they just contradict themselves? Why did you murder? Why do you murder him? If you know you are true and that he teaches the way of Elohim in truth. So you murdered someone that teaches the truth and you knew it. What does that make you? Unreal. Shall we pay or shall we not pay? But see, they can't see that. All those words I just said, they can't see it. They go blind, literally. Spiritually blind completely. They don't believe that. If it were told to them, they would go double blind. It would be rejected faster than lightning. But he, knowing their hypocrisy, said to them, why do you test me? It's a wicked testing. It's calling it hypocrisy, because it is. Bring me a denarius that I may see it. So they brought it, and he said to them, whose image and inscription is this? Image, that's right. Someone's face, as if they're greater than everyone else. They said to him, Caesar's. Yehoshua answered and said to them, render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to Elohim the things that are Elohim's. And they marveled at him. Why did they marvel at him? I guess they weren't expecting that. They couldn't see that, could they? Some Sadducees who say there is no resurrection came to him, and they asked him, saying, this is more wicked testing to try to catch someone with intention for sin. Catch him in sin with his words so that he can be condemned and proven wicked. That's why they're around him. That's why they follow him. That's why they're doing what they're doing. It's so evil. It's all the difference in the world why someone does what they do. It's all the difference between the Creator's works and the devil's work is the intention of the heart for why something is done. It's all the difference in the world. It's a nasty, evil serpent heart that's doing these works. I think I'm going to stop right here for now. So laying up treasures for heaven, finding how to do that better and more, and not working with trying to store up treasures on earth, like the world's doing. It's thinking carnally only and fully. To be carnally minded is death. It doesn't want to hear that. The world doesn't believe that. It can say those words all alone, cherry-picked, in a delusion that doesn't believe what those words mean. You give a little substance to what that means, and all of a sudden they hate you and they don't believe what those words mean all of a sudden. It's because they're not thinking truth when they say those words in there. It's not happening. To be carnal, how can it condemn and deny itself? It is the only answer. But it's not for everyone now. That's the truth too, which someone would use for an excuse to say, it's not for me, see? Your God did it. Incredible. Oh man, incredible. It's going to find someone to blame, that's for sure. You can count on it. You can count on the sin and blame and condemnation. If someone does that, they're not saying that for the intention of caring about what they're saying. They're literally using it to continue and justify whatever they love and are doing and believe. That's why. Not because they even care what they're talking about. The foolishness that they're literally doing, they're trying to put on you. When someone tries to make someone look like a fool, they are the fool in real time as they're doing it themselves. They are the fool that they are trying to imply and make someone else out to be, because that's an evil work. It's hypocrisy. They will be the fool every time. Look at them and watch their foolishness that they are. It's them when they try to make someone else on purpose with a wicked heart to be a fool, or mock his word, mock his truth, like they did to Messiah all the time, like they'll do to his people, because no servant's greater than his master. So the Father's receiving this wicked mockery all the time, nonstop, about his truth, about who he is, lies about who he is. He's taking it all and bearing it. He hates with vengeance and righteous fire that people are going to be tortured by him forever, and all the other abomination that's going on, and he's bearing it. It's evil. It's not who he is. That is monstrous evil. It is blasphemy to the highest degree. It's right up there at the top. Who can believe that truly? Because that would expose what? It would start exposing a lot to really start seeing this and believing it. That's a lie. That's not who the Father is. That's not who the Creator is. And yet the whole world has been saying that's who he is for a long, long time. And the church world's been saying it for a long, long time. It's kind of hard to take back the moon landing, isn't it? Once you say it to the whole world, how do you take that back? Hope everyone dies and start changing it slowly? See, when someone becomes desperate for sin and covering their sin, you have to do more sin to be desperate to cover that sin. You have to want other people to die now, which is rotten, filthy, wicked, to cover some wicked, worthless sin and made up lie. It just keeps growing worse. It's incredible. And, well, for believers, it must be growing better, and it's growing better for them. Because a man is what he thinks, so he is, as his heart believes. And no one can please the Creator without faith. Like we read, no one can please him. Faithlessness doesn't please him. Second, okay. Let me find that real quick here. Hebrews 11:6 through 8. The true Hebrews are those that seek to do the Father's will, apart from race and all that. But without faith, it's impossible to please him. Impossible. For he who comes to Elohim must believe that he is, that he just is, and that he is a rewarder. He does things of those who diligently seek him. Diligently seek. To seek out, search for, to seek out, investigate, scrutinize, to seek out for oneself, beg, crave, to demand, back, require. So it's pretty strong. Diligently. Seek carefully. Seek after, how is it said in the Greek?
Strong's G, 1567, exateo. Exateo.
That's so simple and yet not so easy. Yet it should seem like it's easy. Well, his way is difficult. And then the examples of, in his word, of faith. And even that takes, sight to see how these examples are working, what it's meaning, what it's not meaning. I think that's going to be it for now. These all died in faith, not having received the promises. That includes Enoch, the one he mentioned up here, one by one. Well, that's a whole nother thing. Just one other lie. Somehow one out of all did not all die, These all died, not having, in faith, not having received the promises. But having seen them afar off, were assured of them, embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. Seeking a homeland. Now they desire a better heavenly country. Elohim is not ashamed to be called their Elohim, for he has prepared a city for them. And more example. Let's see what open to. Mark 2. 27 here. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Therefore the Son of Man is also master of the Sabbath. Well, that's big, and I think that's enough. Messiah is our rest. He is the Sabbath. Belief through him, in him, to believe in the Creator, because no one can believe in the Creator without believing in the true Messiah. No one can believe in the true Messiah without believing in the Creator. No other way to the Creator. There's all kinds of other foul spirits and delusions out in this world. But there's only one way to him, to the true and only Creator, and not all these other false gods, wood and stone, like we read, that are as good as wood and stone. But because of the belief in man's heart for wood and stone being real and having power, what's going to happen to that person? Man, it's powerful what someone believes, what we believe. So we have to believe the truth, seek the truth, and destroy the lies within. All right, peace, take care, seek truth from above.